When you think of Apple, you don't think cheap and you don't think gaming, but with the new Mac Mini, it might just do that.
This right here is the new Mac Mini featuring an M4 processor that is very popular in the computer space right now, but of course in Toasty Bros fashion. We gotta see if it can game after a word from today's sponsor.
Today's video is brought to you by our friends at Intel and Lenovo to take a look at their new line of Aura laptops. More specifically, we have the Lenovo Yoga Slim 7i Aura Edition. These laptops are powered by Intel Core Ultra CPUs with Intel Arc graphics, perfect for on-the-go performance and including AI acceleration with dedicated NPUs with 40 TOPS of compute power, making your AI tasks run seamlessly. It also rocks a beautiful 2880 by 1800 IPS display at 120 Hz, packed inside a thin and light package with all-day battery life. With Intel Core Ultra processors, you can easily accelerate your AI experience in productivity, content creation, gaming, and entertainment apps, all with incredible performance and less drain on your battery. Learn more by checking the link down below to take a look at the Lenovo Yoga Slim 7i Aura Edition that I have in today's video. Big shout out again to Intel and Lenovo for sponsoring today's video. Now let's dive back into the video, shall we?
All right, let's see what this little guy looks like.
There it is, it's beautiful. But I already opened this up because there was a lot of prep we had to get into to get this thing working, but the M4 Mac Mini features a 10-core CPU, 10-core GPU. We did get the base model with only 256 gigs of storage. Apple, do better, make that not the base model anymore. And 16 gigs of RAM, at least they got better with that and I used 8. And this one we bought for $581, but we've seen it as cheap as $499.
Hey, I'm just glad that it's solid state storage instead of hard drives, because I remember that. But yeah, pretty cool design. I like how it's raised so that if you have it flat, you don't have to worry about any heat problems because you got vents all along the bottom here. Appears to be all aluminum. It's pretty cool, pretty Apple, honestly. Now this is interesting. On the back, instead of our typical 3-prong AC, we just get a little dual prong adapter. As you can see here, we get an Ethernet port, full-size HDMI. We get, look at this, 3 USB Type-C. And it looks like one of them is a fast charging port or high power port. Combo headphone jack. Okay, yep. All right, classic. And then 2 more USB-Cs, so not a single full-size USB like 3 or 3.1 on this Mac.
In typical Apple fashion, that's what they love to do. So of course, for our testing, we had to get one of these, just USB-C to, well, a bunch of different adapters so we can get this working. But we also, and shout out again to SK Hynix, they sent over their X31 Beetle drive, which surprisingly actually matches this pretty nicely. This is a 2 terabyte SSD that they sent over very conveniently because with 256 gigs of storage and the games are going to be testing, it most certainly wasn't going to be enough. But what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to do a little live action testing with this thing. We're going to test games natively on Mac, which you most certainly can do. There are games you can play natively on Mac, but then we're going to talk about a program called Crossover, which is a way that you can play Windows games on Mac much easier than something like Parallels. We'll explain how it works later. And it'll allow us to play full-fledged Windows games, and spoiler, it works better than you would think. Let's get this monitor set up and dive into testing. So one thing that everyone is complaining about, and I can kind of agree with, is the power button on the bottom. I've seen like people already make like 3D contraptions to like put like a little lever on the outside to where you can do it. But we'll go ahead and just turn it on that way. But hey, we're gonna introduce...
There's so much room to have is it not clean enough?
They got rid of the USB-A ports. They got rid of the headphone jack. The headphone jack's on this now though, so I mean, you know, it is what it is. But we're gonna load into the Mac OS.
Oh, that's
do you like my little hot dog?
That's cool.
That's me, okay. OBS, go away. Okay, so now that we're getting through all our pop-ups here, we can go ahead and explain how we're gonna make this work. So, as you can see right here, we have our external drive that popped up with Steam installed, and we're gonna use Crossover for that. So we'll deal with that here in a little bit, and Crossover is trying to open right now. I'm currently running the free trial of Crossover. So, why won't this close out actually? It won't go away! This thing's cooked, can I, wait, hold up. How do you restart Finder? Oh, wait. There we go, I fixed it. Okay, so natively, we're gonna log into Steam here. I'll show you some of the I'm gonna show you some of the games that did work. So you go into library, it's just like Linux. You go to Mac OS here, and you have a decent list of games. It's not great. Borderlands 2, I'll have Jackson launch that one and try it. Another one that's hilarious that it works is Muck. Of all games, Muck works.
Muck was so good.
But we'll launch Borderlands 2, we'll launch Muck. Those are the main games that work natively, and beyond that, there are some other ones, but they're older, and some of them, like, as you can see, where is CS2, it says CSGO Legacy. So literally, it's not CS2, it's just gonna launch like a legacy version of CSGO where you can't even play online. So, you know, that's where that is. But when it comes to Crossover, which Jackson might remember when we tested my MacBook a while ago, we used a program called Parallels, which allowed you to basically make a Windows virtual machine where you could go into Windows, install Steam and stuff. What Crossover does is takes that concept and basically puts it on top of macOS, so you're not actually installing Windows or anything. You're basically, when you open these apps, you're launching a mini virtual machine of this application that's running on Windows. So for example, when you open up Steam here, it's actually launching another version of Steam. You can see the icons are slightly different, so you can tell the difference here. But it's launching another version of Steam that is running on Windows, just sitting on top of this operating system. That is the simplest way I can explain it. And I really think Apple should have this baked in natively, because it allows you to run pretty much anything Windows inside macOS.
That'd be pretty big for Apple. So, and you can do stuff outside of Steam.
Exactly. So through here, you go through install. It shows some of the games that run great or work great. There's other applications you could just search through for Windows applications to get them installed. One I did have installed for a while is you can get BattleNet. But let's see, I'll show you it. There's a bunch of different ones here. You can get BattleNet and it does work, but certain games like, and here comes our Windows install.
Oh, anti-cheat, I'm guessing.
Anti-cheat. That's the big thing, is anti-cheat just does not work properly. There are some workarounds you can do, but anything with easy anti-cheat is on a Mac, no. Fortnite, no. Same thing with like Linux, it's the same deal. But as you see, now we have access to all of our games. Wow. And of all the games, I installed a decent amount. We got Apex Legends, which we'll launch and show you an example of an anti-cheat that doesn't work. CS2, for some reason, their anti-cheat's fine with it. Crysis Remastered, fine. Cyberpunk, fine. Elden Ring works fine. The Finals, anti-cheat doesn't work. And Miles Morales works fine. So we're gonna go and set up the tripod. We're gonna show you some of the native games live, and then we'll dive into this so we can show you some of the Windows games and really see what the horsepower of this thing is like, and if it makes sense for you to get one of these and potentially game on it. And also later on this video, we will be doing some productivity benchmarks, because just out of pure curiosity after messing with this thing for the weekend, I really want to know how it does in video rendering and other applications like that, because that's kind of what macOS is known for. So if you can get one of these things for like $499, let's say at that Micro Center price, and you get the 10-core CPU, 10-core GPU, 16 gigs of RAM, and you can use it as like a video editing machine, that's pretty dang good. And that's not something you normally see from Apple. You normally see these things being $1,000+ and there's not value there. They're actually delivering value here, which is kind of weird.
All right, guys, so we're testing out one of the native games right now. This is Borderlands 2, so a little bit of an older game, but still does have some decent graphics. And here's the settings we're running. It's kind of like a pretty mixed low to high settings, basically. Limited frame rate. We are running just 1080p. And let's see what kind of, we got a little FPS counter. It's really small, so keep your eyes peeled, but looks like we're getting over 100 FPS. This is smooth.
Yeah,
really nice.
And one thing to mention is like a good segue to the whole native thing. Companies are starting to come out and actually say they're going to develop natively for Mac or have a good compatibility layer. Cyberpunk has already said that they are going to be porting their game over to macOS, which is the first big developer that I've heard that's actually going to be doing it. So, especially with this hardware, I mean, why not?
Yeah, no, I mean, this is super smooth. Like, I wouldn't even know I was on Mac right now. The only thing that was kind of funny is I was going through the menu when I was scrolling. I was like, oh, yep, Mac, you got to scroll backwards for everything.
Yeah, obviously an older game. This isn't like the most demanding game in the world, but the fact that it is running on an M4 like ARM processor, which we've had our fair share of issues with ARM processors in the past, is actually pretty cool.
I'm curious to see if let's try to bump up some settings and I'm curious like if it breaks the same as Windows normally will.
Yeah, the ambient occlusion, I remember, dropped the FPS a decent amount.
Really?
Yeah.
All right, so we're pushing this thing now. Let's see what type of FPS we get. It's crazy how much better the game looks, but I mean,
80.
honestly, yeah, I'll take that, dude. This is good. Let me get one more little actiony area. All right, Mac, well, you're doing, I mean, honestly, I'm thinking about other mini PCs. So if we were to get a Windows mini PC for, around $500, would that get us a graphics card or would it just be APU?
I have to look that up. It would definitely be APU. I would assume it'd be one of the maybe 7000 series Ryzen APUs, which might get close to this in this game,
Maybe, yeah. But I mean, we're talking about Mac though.
Yeah.
I mean, you always got to think about just like the premium, and it doesn't really feel like there's much premium cost with this, which is really cool. It's like this feels like the first time in history almost that there isn't like some crazy, I don't feel like I'm paying for nothing right here. So, well, Borderlands definitely gets a pass as far as the native game goes. Let's go to another native game.
Muck. All right, guys, we are launching into Muck, which I did have a little technical difficulty. I did realize once you sign in through Crossover, you will get signed out of your main account, because obviously we can sign into two Steam accounts at the same time. For whatever reason, it does that on the same system. But we're now in Muck, which should allow me to hit host lobby. Ah, there we are.
Double click.
Double click. Interesting. That's a little broken. But if you guys don't know the lore of this game, what are you doing? The mouse isn't working right now, actually. That's really weird. For some reason, my mouse won't move. I swear this was working somewhat decent before, and I'll show you this OBS recording on screen here, guys, where it was working okay, but this just goes to show the native limitations with macOS for whatever reason. My mouse just said...
It's giving Linux vibes.
It's giving Linux vibes where it's like, I don't know how to work on this, but I'm surprised this launched at all, to be honest. This is not a game that had a lot of developers, as in there was one developer, and he just made this out of a joke, so... Here's Muck. One thing to mention, and I probably should mention all these random issues that do happen. I've noticed a crossover whenever you first initiate Steam or any application, it takes a little while. It's not like super instant as if it's running native. So that is just something to mention, that it does take a little bit. So it's not a perfect system, and maybe it'll be different on other Macs, but with this Mac Mini and the M4, it does take a while once you launch it to really get Steam up and running. And there have been times where I've had to quit applications and restart again multiple times to actually get in. So it's still trial and error 100% when it comes to this application, because see, there you go, here comes Steam. But it does take a little bit to get working. Okay, so we're slowly loading into Counter-Strike 2 using Crossover, which, as you can see, ain't perfect. As in, it's loading. All right, now we're in. So let's go to video here. I think we're probably not at the right res. Let's go full screen. We're currently on, I think, low settings, but you see right here, we're getting a lot of random locking up. And I noticed this when testing it at home, it just doesn't work great, but once you get in game, it'll at least run. But is it an experience I'd recommend? Maybe not. But I'll let Jackson dive into Dust 2. This is like running CS2 on a really budget computer. It acts super laggy to start, and then it kind of works. Not really. I think you're like lagged into a smoke. There's just some weird and also why does it look like you just walk through like a vape cloud?
Dude, is this epilepsy mode?
I couldn't tell you.
Oh, this dude's done for sure.
Oh
my God. I actually got my kill.
That's crazy. But this isn't crazy because we haven't even got 60 FPS and there's just a ton of lockups. I would definitely deem this one unplayable.
Yeah, it's like slowly.
Oh!
Oh my God.
Dude, we got the aim hacks on. I don't know what this in and out texture thing is happening right now.
I don't know. It does look like it's, it's like the vape cloud's taking over. I don't know. Dude, sometimes the mouse just doesn't, have you felt it?
No.
Here, I'm gonna have you feel it after this.
Sometimes oh, another kill.
All right, feel the mouse. Sometimes it just doesn't move.
Oh yeah, it's like, oh, it's like locking up.
Yeah,
oh, that's so weird. Oh, nope, now I was trying to turn, but I couldn't.
Yeah, not only is
what is having the blood effects?
Not only is the sensitivity low, but it's weird. It's almost like there's a certain setting we have on, whether it's,
so,
I don't know.
Yeah, one thing to mention, and we're not experts when it comes to Crossover. I tried to spend a lot of my Sunday figuring this out. Crossover has a bunch of different compatibility layer modes that you can try. I was trying another one, which is using DX Metal, which is the API that Apple uses to translate Windows applications and stuff, and it was not launching with that, so I had to turn that off to one that's more of a DX11, DX12 compatibility layer, and maybe that's what's causing this to be really buggy.
This kind of feels like one of those moments where, talking about Linux and ARM processors, where it's at the end of the day, I think a lot of this comes down to the game developers being willing to make their games just native.
This is kind of like a preview to see what it could do. This isn't a great preview for CS2, but it's a preview. Let's try something else.
All right, guys, we're trying a pretty serious game now. This is Crysis 1, and we're at 1440p. Kind of just whatever settings it has us on.
So advanced, it should say low.
Low. 1440p low, which 1440p is definitely, I think this thing would be good for 1440p for productivity. Gaming, I wouldn't do it, but we're doing it.
We're getting 60 FPS, baby.
It's so dark.
It's so dark on this map.
I know Matt was having some trouble with menus and stuff. It might have just still been loading, but clicking and moving was a little weird, but right now it feels normal.
Yeah, that was definitely running the different compatibility layer for DX11, DX12 games. I ran the normal metal compatibility layer, and that seems to work better in certain games. It's kind of trial and error when you use Crossover. And also too, I know some people are going to mention, there is a performance utility you can get that works on games that are running using the Metal API, but for some reason it works sometimes it doesn't, so we got to use trusty old Steam here to give us FPS at the moment.
I'm holding a boat engine. Yeah, I think the big thing about this video is it's just the Linux stuff. We're not really telling you guys oh, you should just go out and buy this for gaming. Like, no, that's not what it's designed for. It's more of the toasty bros. We need to know if it can game, and the fact that it can is pretty crazy. It's really just showing the capabilities of this M4 chip, and the fact that if they're able to get more games on it and just more compatibility overall, this could be pretty big for the future. Crysis, a game that this is the most I've ever played.
This is the furthest we've ever gone.
Yeah, it's like every time we just get to here, and then it's like, all right, for the next benchmark a year from now. All right, I would say, I think this gets a pass. Feels pretty good. I would probably do 1080p, maybe turn up your brightness a little bit.
Next game. Okay, guys, so we are trying to play Spider-Man Miles Morales. We're actually getting some weird bugs where it won't actually let us load into anything. This is one of the games where, again, I had it working at home, but now it won't let me load into certain things. So this is just another good example of how crossover, not perfect. I'm gonna mess with it a little bit more, but just wanted to note on this where sometimes things will lock up like this and there's really not much you can do. Okay guys, so we're just gonna say screw the FPS counter because it's not working now in these games for whatever reason. But we're in Cyberpunk now, which, shout again to Cyberpunk. In this current configuration, we are using the upscaling tech to make it work, but they are potentially going to be working on developing this game for macOS natively, so we don't have to do any of this weird stuff. But everybody's got low, medium settings, 1080p. I would say it feels more like a 30 to 40, not like a lock 60, but it's smoothish.
It looks pretty decent.
It's not bad. This is all eye test, by the way, and we're not running on such low details to where it's like a potato.
I've noticed the sensitivity on Mac is weird.
Yeah, the sensitivity is really weird. You definitely would, I don't know if you need like a third-party application to make that more seamless, but it's a little weird, I will say.
It almost feels like acceleration.
It
like
does.
On Windows.
But it's consistent frame rate, it's not stuttery, and it's working, so there's that. So let's just do what we do in Cyberpunk fashion, shoot somebody, get killed. Pia, pia, pia. Ooh!
Ah. Well, that's your vehicle now.
My cop car, baby! Oh! Oh! Oh, no! Oh, there's too many of them. I'm not gonna make it. I'm going out.
He's going out with a bang.
Who is this guy?
It's
a random gang member with a knife. Ah! And I'm dead. It was playable. I didn't get an FPS number for you guys, but it was playable. Let's try another one. One thing I wanted to show to you guys is a good example of how the finals does not work. And there might be actual desktop recording I did of this as well, so McAllister could put that here instead over top of this voiceover. But the finals is a game that uses easy anti-cheat, and as you can see, it's loading and then it just says, failed to load the anti-cheat model. It's unfortunate. Same thing happens for Apex Legends. We'll go ahead and launch Apex Legends, which also runs on the same anti-cheat. And unfortunately, with easy anti-cheat, it just doesn't work. There are some games you can find workarounds for. I've seen videos for games like Overwatch 2, where you can get it to work, but for the most part, you're kind of limited in that regard. But I think I'm pretty happy with the games we tested today. We had some issues with Spider-Man Miles Morales. I did get that to work at one point, I will say, but right now it's acting a little bit weird. A game like Elden Ring, we could probably launch. Let's see if this one launches properly. I remember this game would only get like 30 to 40 FPS on average, so it wasn't that great. Yeah, this one definitely feels chunkier, but it's running, and there's a lot of stuff happening around me, so amazing. Oh, what is this? Okay, I'm dead. All right, as you can tell, these games run. I think that's the biggest point of this video, is these games technically work, which is a big improvement compared to what we've seen before in things like Linux and other operating systems. So all in all, I think this was an okay experience. We'll go ahead and cut to some productivity tests here so you guys can see what that looks like, but all in all, I'm pretty impressed. This seems to be better than I expected with an M4. Yeah, I'll run some productivity tests and then wrap this video up real quick. All right, guys, so I have Premiere loaded up. It is missing some of the files because I'm not connected to both of the NAS drives that we have on this computer, our network attached storage that we use for video editing. But here's just the playback of 4K 60 footage. And I will say, this is so much more fluid than even some of our main Windows PCs in terms of how smooth the playback is. And this thing is super tiny and power efficient. We'll do some quick playback here. It's like instant. It's crazy. We'll try some of the render times too, but it's really wild how optimized Premiere Pro has gotten. And Final Cut's kind of the main editing software you would use on macOS, but Premiere seems to have gotten a lot better as well. We'll go ahead and export media. We'll just render out in what we normally would render out as using a hardware encoder. 60 bit rate's fine. We'll put this to the documents folder, just call it that, it doesn't really matter. And this is estimated, but we're looking at basically real time, about 12 minutes. Not super fast, especially with this model, but we'll let this 12-minute render go, and as long as we don't have any issues, we'll obviously be missing some of these files, this is a really cool budget video editing option. I feel like most creators out there, if you have like a, let's say, Windows PC and maybe you want a little Mac Mini for video editing purposes, and a lot of people in content creation prefer Mac OS, this being only $499 in some places, around a little over $500, really awesome for creators, and figured you guys would be interested in seeing this as well, considering you're not just gamers out there. Some of you like to create stuff, and being able to do Premiere profiles and things like that. This thing is pretty dang impressive. Let this render finish, make sure there's no issues, and we'll wrap this video up real quick.
So guys, the Mac Mini, it's pretty freaking cool. I mean, the fact that you can get them for anywhere from $499 to $599 right now, and it comes with that new M4 chip, which, let's be honest, these M series chips have been pretty solid, especially in the productivity world, but it's pretty cool to see that they're starting to slowly creep into the gaming capability world.
It's really cool that they are committed to making gaming better on Mac. Again, it's not anywhere near being a gaming PC replacement yet, but it's really cool that if you had a Mac device, whether you had an M1, M2, M3, M4 MacBook, or one of these newer Mac Minis, you could play some games on the side natively and using crossover. So even buy a Mac Mini yourself to mess around with, because they're affordable. It might be fun. Check the link in the description down below. They will be affiliate links and they will help us out. Let us know what you think of Mac gaming in the comments down below, and would you consider picking one up?
And as always, we hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, check out our other two YouTube channels and also our twitch.tv/ToastyBros. Do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
And we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.
So this Mac Mini may be for sale at PCBros.tech, but hey, we get it. You guys probably are going to want to go with Windows for gaming, and we have a ton of Windows gaming PCs.
Whether you're looking for something on a really tight budget or a high-end gaming PC, PC Bros got you covered, especially during our holiday sale. Use code ToastyBros on checkout to save 3%, and also cash in on our weekly sales we're running over at PCBros.tech for the month of December. See you guys later. Bye-bye.